welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dani, and this is my pandemic glam. All right, so what better time to talk about my DIY chore chart than right now when our children are home. I don't know what your personal situation is in your home, but for us, we are a blended family of 4 kids, ranging from ages 5 to almost 16. And so they have been out of school for a few weeks now, and we're just waiting for the word on them being out of school through the rest of the year. What does that mean for us as a household? Well, first of all, temporary insanity. But the other thing is, how do we keep this household running smoothly? How do we empower our children and not have them be idle? And also, how do I alleviate so much of my mental load? So when we decided to blend our families and move in under one roof, it was very important for Parker and I to figure out a system on how to empower our kids and give them roles in this household. And their roles are really important because we as parents can empower them, teach them how to take care of their own households in the future, and also help us here in the home by giving them some sort of responsibility. But it was hard for us to come up with a system that would work because we have 2 teenagers and we have 2 really small kids. How do we make this work for kids of all ages? So of course, I reached out to you guys on Instagram and I said, let me know what you guys do for helping out around the house. I actually did a vlog, a weekend vlog, where I was like, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so overworked, I can't do everything by myself. And one of you guys left a comment and said, use a chore chart. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I had a Scooby-Doo moment. I'm like, what's a chore chart? So obviously I went down the Google rabbit hole of chore charts and I found one that I'm gonna throw up here on the screen that I absolutely fell in love with. And I fell in love with it because it was a way that us as parents could keep track. It was a way that our kids would feel successful and accomplished because there's physical movement involved. And there was another way for us as parents to check up on them and to make sure that the chores are getting done in the right way or in the way that we want them to be done for this particular household. What I'm gonna do is I will list and link all of the items that you will need for this DIY in the description box below. I will also leave a list of the particular chores I have on my chore chart so that in case you need inspiration for varying ages, I mean, the chores may not be applicable because you may not have pets in your household, but if you do, then they might help. For example, I have scoop poop on my chore chart. You might have cats, so you could swap it out with clean out the kitty litter. What I will do, like any and all my videos, I will list and link all of this stuff in the description box below. I'm gonna walk you through the process on how we did it, how we tweaked it, and how it finally is a well-oiled machine and how you can make this work for your family. At the very end of this video, I also want to give you a few tips that we learned the hard way along the way, and maybe that'll save you a few steps. We have our chore chart in the middle of the kitchen so that when the kids get up and they walk to the kitchen, because you know they're hungry, they're gonna see, hey, these are the expectations that we have of you guys for today. And so they can kind of mentally plan their day. Right now, it's really important, you know, given the social climate and everything that's going on, that you provide some sense of routine and structure for the kids. Even if they are not going to school, there is some sort of structure within your home to keep them connected, to keep them present so that they don't walk off and, you know, wander into TikTok land and before you know it, they've been on it for 5 hours, you know, mouth breathing. You want to keep them stimulated and you want to empower them with responsibilities within your house. As far as I'm concerned, this isn't me and Parker's house. This is our house, and all of us play a role. All of us can contribute to this family, and all of us can keep it running smoothly. And, you know, it's one of those things where it's the domino effect. If I'm overwhelmed with chores that I have to do completely by myself, along with working from home, along with teaching 2 different curriculums, along with making dinner, my mood, my energy is just gonna trickle down the dominoes onto every other person in this house. So if you're running your household and you are the house manager and you have a mental load to keep up with, learn to delegate responsibilities, and something like this will really help you do that. So if you want to learn how I did these DIY chore charts, all you have to do is keep on watching. The first thing you're going to need is an empty frame, and you will need an empty frame per child doing chores. So Johnny will have a frame, Susie will have a frame, and Larry will have a frame. You're going to need sheet metal. This is sheet metal. You do not want to buy a sheet of magnet. A magnet sheet does not work. I learned that the hard way. It's a total fail. It has to be sheet metal, and I found this at Hobby Lobby. And since you are handling metal, you're going to need gloves, and you're gonna need metal cutters or clippers. These have a very specific professional name. I don't know them. I found these at Hobby Lobby right underneath the sheet of metal I bought. So you do need protective gear. We talk about safety and sanitation when we're cooking. This is also safety when we're handling things like metal. Metal is really hard to cut, and it will cut you really unapologetically. And the last thing you want to do is hurt yourself doing a DIY project during this pandemic. Obviously, if you're creating a chore chart, you need a template. I created mine on PicMonkey, and PicMonkey is software. It's digital software that will completely change your life. I also use PicMonkey for things like a medicine chart that I use for my dogs. So if you are crafty and you like to do sort of digital designs, PicMonkey is a really good investment. So you want to do a template that designates the child, the chores that need to be done, and some sense of completion. So they start off with their list of chores. Once they've been completed properly, successfully, and to your satisfaction, the magnet gets moved over. I empower my kids with allowing them to move it over. I double check their work. If there's a problem, then I talk to them about it. But instead of helicoptering them and making sure they come to me first, I let them use their discretion, and if I notice something, then I'll have a talk with them. I had mine laminated at my local UPS store because it is very practical when you're introducing a new chart to be able to write on here, explain to them maybe what you want done, how you want it done, something you want done differently, or a specific detergent that you want used. You want your children to become independent, to not come to you with every single little question that you have. So if there's something that you want to do, say, clarify, using a whiteboard marker or a dry erase marker is nice on a laminated sheet of paper. Another thing you can do is you could actually use this as encouragement. Hey buddy, yesterday you did so well, let's do the same today. Good job, mommy loves you, or whatever. So you can actually erase. 2 additional things that you will need for this project are labels and magnets. I found both of mine on Amazon, like the majority of these items. I really like these 1-inch sticker labels because they are removable. So if we need to customize any chores, if we need to change any chores, if we need to reuse any magnets, it's very easy to do. The other reason that I like these labels is because they fit on both sides of the magnet. I purchased 3 different magnets when I was working on this project, and these are the ones that I liked the most. So they're from a brand called Vimo, and they are 1.26 sized magnets. This is the size that they are. They're very smooth, so if you wanted to write directly on them with Sharpie and then maybe clean it up later, you could also do that as well. They are wider on the top, narrower on the bottom, so the diameter is a little bit smaller on the bottom. You can see it has a little bit of a lip, but the good thing about these labels is they actually fit properly on both sides. These labels are an Avery template, so you can look up the template online, type it up on your computer, and make your own labels. So I'll show you guys kind of what it looks like. This is the template that I used for the very first chores that I did on my chart. And this is what the paper itself looks like. So all you have to do is look up Avery label 6450 on Google and it'll pull up the template. You download the template, it's a PDF, and you just type in whatever chore you want to do. So here's an example of some of the chores I did at the beginning. This is no longer current. We've been using this chore chart for about 3 months now, and a lot of modifications had to happen just to make it easier for myself and for the children to understand. After that, you're going to need a way to mount your chore charts, and I decided to use these 3M like Velcro. They're basically for hanging art on the walls without damaging your walls, and so they stick and they don't come off. I put them on the back of the frames, top and sides. I didn't do all 4 sides, and I stuck them to the wall. So you're gonna need some of these. 2 more things. You're going to need a catch-all, and your catch-all is going to contain all of your chores. Could you throw them in a bucket? Absolutely. I like to lay them flat on something where I could see them, so that at night when I set the coffee maker, I laid out the dog's medications for the next morning, I laid out the dog bowls. When I've pre-prepped for the morning, I pull out this board, I look at it, and seeing it all laid out, I'm like, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that, you did this already, so you can do this, so you can do this, blah, 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 blah. And it kind of gives me a visual and a fair way of dispersing chores. We do not do all chores every day. There are certain things we are required to do on a daily basis, but there are other things that we alternate between kids and between days. So for example, donation clean out, we do that maybe every 2 months. Very rarely on occasion do we use this magnet. You'll also notice that I do have green magnets at the bottom. These are paid chores and they are voluntary. They do not have to do them. So I like to keep myself visually organized, and I feel like it also gives the kids a little bit of a surpriseless approach to this. They know what to expect. These chores here are for my 5-year-old. He obviously doesn't know how to read yet, so I found these on a chore chart that Melissa and Doug use. I tried to use it with my 8-year-old when he was 5, and I did not find it very successful. It turned into a toy. It was a very hard way to manage chores, so I just kept the actual chores with pictures on them, but I did not keep the actual chore chart. I decided to go this route instead. And this route is applicable to all the kids in this house, which range from ages 5 all the way to 16. So you need a catch-all for all your chores. And then the last thing is optional, but necessary if you're a little bougie and controlling like I am. And this is a chore designated area. So we got this at Hobby Lobby, and it was actually a DIY project that Parker helped me do. We bought this sign at Hobby Lobby, so it has scripture on it. And what we did is we took it apart, turned the metal backwards or inverted it, and then Parker actually painted it white. I'll show you guys a little clip of how he did it. Basically reversed the sign. We reversed the sign. These letters are also from Hobby Lobby, and we kind of use this as a area designation for where the chores are. So the kids get up in the morning, and when they're prepping their breakfast, they can get a look at the day ahead of what they're expected to do to contribute to this family, so that my mental load isn't heavy and so that they're helping this whole machine run smoothly with their very important help. The most difficult and challenging part of this DIY project is cutting the metal. And I'm gonna include a clip of how Parker actually cut this metal. It is not hard, but it is very scary and maybe a little dangerous. So the problem with this is it's very hard. It's a hard thing you're trying to cut. along with how sharp these corners are. If I run this along my arm right now, it will cut me. It's basically a blade. And so you want to measure the sides of the frame with how big you want the metal to be. So for example, I bought 4 plain white frames from Michael's. These are basic. I think they were a couple dollars, maybe $5. They're picture frames. And you want to take the glass that's in here or the model image where you see like, oh, the family is having a birthday or whatever. You take that paper that comes in there, place it on top of the sheet metal because it's usually a 12 by 12 and trace it. I would cut in a little bit smaller than the size just so that it's easier to push into the glass. Once you've done that, then it'll be easy peasy, no problems. I decided to keep the glass in the frame for 2 reasons. One, it creates padding or girth so the chore chart doesn't jiggle, and it makes me feel a little safer mounting it to a wall than if there was like a rattling metal or gaping separation between the frame and the metal. So it creates that pressure. It's nice and tight. The other thing is, hey, you know what? If these kids grow out of a chore chart, I have 4 perfectly good white frames to use for hanging a picture on the house or another DIY project. So what you're gonna do is create your template. Like I told you guys, I did mine on PicMonkey. You could do this as a document in any word processor, Microsoft Word, Pages, on a Mac, anything. All you have to do is do 2 columns and put their name at the top. It's really not that hard. So type it up. If you have a laminator, you're my hero. I've always wanted to have one. I just can't justify buying one because I don't think I'll use it that much. However, I'm up for a challenge. So what you'll do is you will take your frame apart, and these are hanging frames. You can see they don't have that little arm in the back to stand up. You want this to be a hanging frame so that it's flat on the back. This is the glass portion of it. And you will start with your template first, but hopefully you had laminated. Then you will follow up with the metal because this is what's going to keep the magnets in place. And then you will finish off with the glass. The glass, again, is optional. I only included the glass, like I said, so that I don't misuse my frames, so that I have to use them again in the future if I needed to. Close it up securely. These are a little jiggly, you can tell, because the whole back removes, and so it makes you a little nervous. You just want to make sure you're doing your best to secure them as tightly as possible. And then when you turn the frame around, if you need to make any adjustments with how your template is centered, do that now. Flip it over, and it's important that you secure your frame safely to the wall. Now these are supposed to carry up to, I think, 10 pounds. I don't remember what the packaging said. It was like, oh, holds up to 10 pounds of weight. So I did 2, but I think what I'm gonna do is add a 3rd. It's really important. You know, it's in the kitchen. Everyone's always in the kitchen. Everyone's bumping into things. We have 4 dogs. My boys are really rambunctious, so safety obviously is one of our biggest priorities. So your chore chart is basically done. That's what it's gonna look like. And now you get to do the fun stuff. How are you going to assign chores to your kids? Which chores would keep your family happy? Which chores would help your home run more successfully? I'm gonna show you guys the chores that we use, and I'm also gonna show you the ones that never leave their boards. So we have daily chores. And our daily chores are the same for each child. For example, this is Bonus Baby Junior, and her chores for every day are make your bed, say please and thank you, help someone, do your homework, read for 20 minutes, and practice your horn. These 3 do not apply on the weekends. We only use these every single day, Monday through Friday. These only apply on the weekdays. So these are daily chores except for weekends when we kind of loosen it up a little bit. So those are the daily chores. But Other chores that I use in my household are, so you may get a little bit of glare, but I wanted to show you guys sort of like a visual of the way that I organize them. At the top, you'll see that we have laundry related chores, whether they need to wash their sheets, wash their towels, sort laundry. It's really important that the chores that you pick are age appropriate. So we want it to be balanced where a 16-year-old can do chores, but a 5-year-old can also do chores as well. So I can't have my 8-year-old do his laundry. However, I can have him gather all the dirty clothes and color sort it for me and turn it right side out, and then I can take care of it. That's a big win for me. We also have kitchen related chores: dry and put away dishes, wash dishes, load the dishwasher, unload the dishwasher, clear the table. All of these are written with as little amount of words and instructions as possible. But if I say clean the counter, they already know what it means. If I say clear the table, it means dust off the placemats, wipe down the table, put the placemats back, make sure the napkins are filled. Then we have just basic home related chores like take out the recycling, roll in the trash bins when the trash gets picked up, sanitize doorknobs and handles, Swiffer upstairs or Swiffer downstairs, vacuum the stairs. And they're all separated in smaller chores so that it's fair amongst all the children. Down here we have dog related chores. These green ones are paid chores, so they're not necessarily mandatory. The house isn't gonna fall apart if they don't get done, but if they do, there's a little incentive on the back of it. This is gonna be important when we get out of this quarantine and they actually wanna go out and hang out with their friends and they need money to spend. So I like to keep these here. I usually have more of these in the green section, but because kids are home right now, because of the pandemic, I wanted to keep them as helpful as they can be in this house. And since they're home, there are things they can do, for example, like scoop dog poop that I don't need to pay them for. They need to help to contribute to this house. Over here are chores that are related to cleanup, tidiness, organizing their closet, organizing their drawers. If we notice, hey, we just had a birthday party and you have a ton of toys, we got to do a donation clean out. So let's fill a bin of toys that you no longer can use or that someone else could take advantage of and get some donations ready to go. So pick up the playroom, unpack your backpack. These are two particular ones for my 5 and 8-year-old because they put really interesting things in their backpacks. So we have to clean them out regularly when we're in school. But this is just an overview of some chores that we do. A couple of new ones that I'm excited to try this coming month are doing something kind. So I did 2 of do something kind for a parent and then do something kind for a sibling. I think it's important that chores, the word chores, we remove that negative stigma on it. It's not something that should be like, ugh, I have to do. It should be like, yay, it's something that I can do to help this family. And this is something that was kind of a challenge for us because, we'd get the kids to wash their dishes, but if there were other dishes in the sink, they would only wash their dish. And I had to tell them, hey, listen, when I make dinner for everybody. I just don't make dinner for myself. When I go grocery shopping, I get groceries for everybody, not just for myself. So when you wash your dish and there's more dishes in there, help this family by doing the rest of the dishes. And I mean, it caught on when you give them examples, like real life applicable examples on how they can help out your family. All right, so now I'm gonna show you guys how I have this set up in my kitchen. Obviously your system will be a little bit different depending on your space and how you have things laid out, but I wanna show you guys how it's set up and a lot of little factors that affect why it's set up the way it is, because like I said, we have a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old. Okay, you guys, so this is the entrance of my kitchen. When you walk in the morning and you need juice or you need milk, this is where the chore charts are. I wanted to do something where it was easy for the parents to check up that the chores were being completed, but that the children would also see the chores. And we thought, oh, you know what, we'll put them on their bedroom doors. We are not going to necessarily keep going up and down, double checking that they're doing their chores. Some kids, for example, my boys are not allowed to close their bedroom door. I need that door open. The girls can close their doors, my boys cannot. They are too little, the door must stay open. So it's one of those things where it's like, is that a good idea? We thought, okay, how about we put it in the hallway when we walk in the house where the garage is, where we park our cars. That way they see it. But it's like, they don't go there unless they're leaving for school, and I need them to do some of this stuff before they go to school. Again, the only place, and this may be considered an eyesore. I know Parker, it's not his favorite location, but it is the smartest location, so he was okay with it. Put it in a place where it's centralized, where you or your co-parent or your spouse or whatever can actually help you maintain and upkeep the follow through on if this is getting done. So we put it in a centralized location. We identified or designated the zone so there is no room for confusion, like, oh, you updated the chore chart? Yes, I did, actually. I do it every night. So you want to make sure you put them in a spot where there's no excuse. There's no loopholes, there's no confusion. The other thing is, the things you want to consider are, how old are the kids? How tall are the kids? What would make it easier for them to follow up, follow through, keep up? So I have two little guys, and then I have two really tall bonus daughters. I mean tall. If you guys have seen a picture on Instagram, they're basically the same height as I am. So we want eye level and eye level, and this area just worked out perfectly. The other thing you want to do is have your extra chores in a spot where you, the parent or caregiver, aren't going to forget to update it. So I have my board next to the coffee maker because I set the coffee maker the night before so that when I wake up in the morning, it's already brewed. And when I'm setting up the coffee maker, I'm like, oh, I need to double check the chores were done, and I need to double check that we rotate chores for the following day. So say bonus baby senior loaded the dishwasher today, I will have bonus baby junior do it the next day. If my son cleaned the counters the day before, then I will have another person clean the counters. If she cleaned the stove, I'll have my little guy help me clean the stove. So put your chores in a place where you are going to actually keep up with them, because we can only do so much as a parent. We can make the chore chart and we can give them chores, but if we're not rotating the chores, the kids aren't going to take it seriously. So you want to make sure that you put forth just as much effort as the children doing their chores in changing their chores. All right, guys, now it's time to air out our dirty laundry. And I'm not a Pinterest mom. I'm not a granola mom. I don't believe in titling moms. I think as a mom, we do the best we can, and with what little we know, and we learn usually the hard way. And that's kind of what happened with me, with Parker and I, and with the children. So off the bat, you want to try it out. This is an experiment. This may not work with your children. It may be a success, it may not. So I'm gonna share with you guys the stuff that worked, the stuff that didn't, maybe some tips. Nothing too deep. For example, with kids, they're not innately wanting to do chores. They don't innately want to vacuum. They don't innately want to wash dishes. You have to encourage them to do it in a way that it empowers them, realizing they play a very important role in your household. All of us have jobs, and the children included can help lift the weight off a parent or the parent's shoulders. And reminding the children that they are important, contributing members of your household may increase their desire to want to help. Some kids are very bullheaded, I think is the word in English, or stubborn, hard-headed. And no matter how you explain it to them, you're going to struggle getting them to do chores. That I don't have any advice for. Our kids are very open-minded and flexible, and I think when we present things to them in a way as a, could you do this please? Our kids are very checklist driven, so if they feel like they can check the box and be successful, it gives them sort of closure on what they're doing. You have to decide off the bat if you are going to implement consequences. So Are you just putting this up here as a, do you think maybe if you have time you would mind? Or are you doing it as a, this is your job, it needs to get done, and it needs to get done in a timely fashion. If it doesn't, A, B, and C will happen. For us, we have to be very concise with the kids. For example, we have teenage girls that want to get up super late and get their stuff accomplished at the very end of the day. That doesn't help out the house. It needs to be done earlier in the day. And then we have two really hyper, super eager little boys that, oh my God, we want to do it done at the beginning of the day, but they take out the recycling in the morning, and at the end of the day, they're recycling again. So you have to keep reminding them of, hey, your job is taking out recycling. It's not just taking it out once and you're done. It's you're responsible for recycling for the whole day. So do you want to set up consequences? Are you offering this as a suggestion, or is this a job that you're giving your child? That brings me to specifics. You have to be specific. You can only fit like 3 words on these magnets, but you have to be specific on when you want it done and how you want it done. It does feel like more work at the beginning for you as a parent or guardian, because you're like, oh, I'm giving them chores so that I don't have to do it, but now I'm having to teach them how to do it, and it's just so much more work. Yes, if you're type A like I am, that's how it felt at the beginning. I'm like, vacuum the stairs. How hard could it be to vacuum the stairs? But then I'm like, they've never done it before, and I have a specific way that I like things done. So if I want that to happen, I must give them the tools to succeed. I can't just expect them to do it and read my mind. Give specific parameters, when you want it done and how you want it done. And you're gonna have to teach it 4 times, or however many kids have chore charts in your home. So be patient. It takes a while to get into a routine. And then the last thing is, you as a parent need follow through. So if you notice that at the end of the day, there's a magnet left over on the board, what are you gonna do about it? Are you going to ask about it? Are you gonna remember on your own to see if you heard the horn and they practice horn, they just forgot to move the magnet? Are you going to give them the benefit of the doubt? How are you going to follow through or follow up on the completion of these chores? How are you going to make sure that these are done to your satisfaction? Because I have a son that makes his bed like the Tasmanian devil on roller skates that had 6 shots of Fireball, and that's not okay. If you make your bed, you're actually making your bed. Now, change your standards based on the ages of the chores that are getting done. So if my 5-year-old was the Tasmanian devil, I'd be like, okay, he's 5, he can't even reach the bed, at least he's trying. However, my 8-year-old, it's like, honey, you're reading at a 4th grade level and you're starting to do division, you can make a bed. So how are you gonna follow up? How are you going to double check that the chores are getting done? And when they are getting done, are they actually getting done the way that you need them to get done? Because that's like sending someone to the grocery store with a shopping list and they bring home everything but what's on the list. But I went grocery shopping. No, you need to get what's on the list. So if they're not completing their chores in a way that actually helps your household, what's the point of giving them chores? It needs to be a way that it helps the family as a whole, not just checks a box off the list. Does that make sense? It takes some getting used to. I know I said that. It takes some time. It takes some practice. You will write some chores and you'll see that they won't necessarily explain what you're trying to get them to do, so you'll have to rewrite them. Give yourself patience, some grace. Give your family some patience and some grace. Try it out for a few weeks, make the necessary tweaks, have a very honest dialogue with your family and say, hey, listen, I have a lot of jobs to do. I want to introduce you to your jobs in this family. They're really important. They're gonna really help us out. I want them done when you wake up. I want them done before the end of the day. When you finish one, tell me that it's done and I'll double check. Make it work for you. I don't micromanage the chores. I don't double check that it gets done. I give them the freedom to do it whenever it needs to get done. If it's something, for example, like take out the trash and it's overflowing and it's on there, then we have a conversation. What I'm trying to do is create a system where if I forget to do this, it's still gonna get done. And it's slowly starting to happen. We had this conversation the other day, the dishwashing, the loading the dishwasher, the cleaning the counters. We finished dinner and together as a family, everyone went into their respective zones and started to do what they needed to do. And when I looked on their boards, they weren't doing the chore that was assigned to them. They were just contributing to the family in a helpful way that they felt comfortable doing. And that is the point of a chore chart, is visually giving the kids a picture of all the stuff that needs to get done in your home and how they can help by doing it. And so there'll be times where the recycle bin is overflowing, and guess what? It's not Bonus Baby Junior's job, but she takes it out. That's what you want. That's your end goal for something like this. It's not to micromanage your family. Nobody ever on this planet has ever liked to be micromanaged. However, you set it up, you present it to them, you follow through. You guys, as a parent, my biggest mistake in any and all capacities has been follow through. Follow through is so hard because follow through happens at the end of the day when you're exhausted and it's the last little bit of energy you have and you're like, do I really want to go upstairs to make sure that the towels were folded and put away? Do it. Do it, I promise you, and you'll have to do it a couple times, and after that, it gets done, and it will get done, and you'll be so proud of your kids. I think what I learned most from doing this is I am so proud of my 4 kids. I am so happy that they're so smart, so loving, so independent, so they're starting to become so self-sufficient and so self-aware of what it takes to run a home, and their willingness to help will surprise you, you guys. So, like I told you guys at the beginning of this vlog or this video, I will list and link all of the stuff that we used in particular. Customize this to your family. Hey, listen, if you want to get a big giant whiteboard and divide it into quadrants and do your own type of DIY chore chart, do it. But customize it so that it fits into your home, your lifestyle, the chores that you want your kids to do. If you have cats or horses or whatever, customize your chart, make it happy and friendly for your family, and then let me know how it works out. Let us know in the comments if you've done this before, if you have tips, if you have words of encouragement, or maybe additional chores that you saw that we were missing or that's missing off the description box. Leave your chore suggestions down below. We are all friends here. We're all a community. And guess what? Kids do not come with an instruction manual. We learn the hard way and we learn as we go. So the least we could do as parents, mothers, caregivers is to allow ourselves to make mistakes and to encourage one another to keep going on the days where it's the hardest. Like right now, being at home and trying our best to still be mom, teacher, chef, encourager, loving spouse. Give yourself grace. Allow yourself the treat to have your kids help you and to contribute to your home. I guarantee you guys are going to be so proud of your children if you empower them in this way. Anyway, enough of that long outro. I love you guys so much, and you know what to do. If you found this video useful, entertaining, and learned something, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, this coffee break is over. Bye, guys.